Hi, it's me, Maven. After sharing two games that I really like, I am now going to show you a movie that I really love and the filmmaker behind it. It's gonna be a ride. So I have a weird taste in movies, and I always like to, at some point, force my friends to watch them. So just pretend I'm Jigsaw, okay?
You wanna play a little game?
And without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you The Unexpected Race. So the movie starts off with the protagonist Amber as a young girl watching her parents fight and watches her dad leave.
Whatever happened till death do us part?
We were dead a long time ago.
Fine. I'm gone.
Years later, when she's older, she hangs out with her mom, and they get into a car crash, and Amber is the only one that survives.
Sorry. She died in the accident.
Yeah, those bruises look pretty bad. After Amber leaves the hospital, she goes to her dad's place, to this cabin in the middle of nowhere, which is like either Utah or Idaho or something. I honestly do think that the dad is the best character and best actor in this movie.
Wish I could have been there.
But he doesn't even have a name in the credits. He's just father. So Amber likes to go and takes walks out in the wilderness on her dad's property. But then she sees something. What could it be? So she chases after him, and then she finds out the truth of who the stranger is. And here comes my favorite line of the entire movie.
My name is Lythorian, and my people were elves.
So here we meet Lythorian, who is the last of the elves who survived the US government's only and most hilarious massacre ever. Like, I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a serious scene, but it's so silly.
Why would we do that to a whole race?
Yeah, why would the US government ever do that? Man, I'm glad this is a fantasy with elves. So the word race is used a lot, and there is a lot of unintentional subtext behind it.
Your race seems to be the one that has to rule over everyone else. Maybe they thought because we lived longer, we were the better race.
What does the agency want with this race, especially in the 60s?
Anyway, Amber and Lythorian start getting along, and she learns more about him. He tells her about his past. We learn about Lythorian's lost love, Lylyria or Lylorian? Lylyrian? I don't know.
Lylorian! Lythorian!
Then there's Lylyrian.
But these two were so in love, they kept talking in circles about how much they loved each other.
Like is a very simple, simplistic word. Love would be a little bit more stronger.
If your heart was to stop, my soul could no longer beat to its rhythm, no longer exist to its strength. I fear I love you.
What do you plan to do with it?
I don't know, this must be just some elvish I don't understand. Anyway, afterwards, Lythorian and Amber start falling in love with each other. However, they're very torn apart about the complications of their interracial relationship.
Why am I falling in love with something that I read in a book when I was 2 years old? What's my dad gonna think? Elves and humans aren't supposed to be together, right? I hope my dad can accept this.
What is your race gonna think of me?
Then there's Lylyrian. The vows I made with her. I told her I would never leave her. She is now gone.
But this love is with a race that I never thought I could love. Especially when they destroyed mine. By me entering into her life, will I cause her to be a captive?
Then drama strikes when Amber's dad has been stung by a bee. He's allergic, and Amber begs Lythorian to save him.
Lythorian! Help me!
What is it? Second time, my friend.
Is it you? The one that helped me that day?
Yes.
So this is the reason you go out every day for long periods of time.
After Lithorian saves his life, Amber's so happy that she makes out with him. Then, all of a sudden, two hikers that are lost in the woods see the two make out through the window, and they watch for a while.
Think we should bother them?
However, they are horrified when they see a pointy ear.
What is it?
I must go. Someone saw me.
Don't worry about it.
What was that? We've got to tell the authorities.
We're almost to the car. Ah! Ah!
Lithorian threatens them, but fails, but not before they take a photo of him. Then the hikers go and tell the authorities.
Yes, I'm Sheriff Wilkins.
Oh, you gotta call the police, you gotta call the Marines, you gotta call the Navy.
FBI!
What's the problem?
There's this lunatic.
Where did you see this man?
About 10 miles.
But I know people in high places that would like this information. We'll get right on it.
Like, have you guys never heard of cosplay?
Hardman, don't mess with me. After all these years, I have you.
Once word reaches the FBI, they gather all of their resources and all the manpower they can to go out and try finishing off the last of the unexpected race.
Run! They're here! No! Help me! No!
The FBI take Amber and her dad into custody as we experience the manhunt, no, the elf hunt of the ages.
Pin him in! Take him out! He's a dead man.
And after we get an intense sequence of fights, Lithorian is cornered.
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
The FBI return, and they confirm that they got him.
We couldn't find him, but we know we hit him.
But afterwards, Amber scolds the FBI.
You destroyed a whole race of people.
These people were a potential threat to national security.
A threat? You were the threat.
Yeah, you tell them, Amber. Time passes, and Lithorian returns for one last time to say his final goodbye to Amber to go back into hiding.
Did you think I was that easy to kill? I faked my death. I must move on. They cannot find me. I am the last.
Then more time passes, and we are at Amber's funeral. Amber had a great life, but what's this? How is her dad still alive?
Why have I outlived my daughter?
Do you remember that night that I healed you? I had to give a part of my life force to you. You will live longer than the normal human. Good luck to you, my friend.
So Lithorian goes off. However, this is not the end. After the credits, we figure it out. Lithorian is alive. Lyleria, whatever.
She's alive.
And thus concludes the unexpected race. And if you liked any of that, there's more. But before I start talking about more of this, I'm going to talk about why I love this movie so much. First thing I want to talk about is the theme of loss in this movie. The first reason why I like this movie is that in the beginning, up until you meet Lythorian, you see the characters Amber and her father be impacted heavily by the loss of the mom character. And I think the tone is actually pretty good here. I've dealt with loss of my best friend a few years ago, and I heavily empathize with the two characters. And one part that I particularly relate with a lot is that Amber goes on walks outside in nature, and I did the same thing as well at the state park that I live right next to. I walked there almost every day, and it makes a wonderful sanctuary when dealing with grief. I, for one, definitely would have appreciated discovering an elf and befriending him during that time. I really like the music in this movie. I can't tell you enough how frequently this music gets stuck in my head. I like how magical the beginning of the credits sounds. Like, it sounds like you're getting ready for a little fairy tale. Another song that gets stuck in my head is the song that plays during the festival. And along with that, this elf is jamming out with it. I found a YouTube channel of one of the composers for this movie, and it doesn't have all the tracks of the movie. I'll put the link below if you want to check this guy's stuff out. But for the life of me, I cannot find the Lylarian's theme. It's my favorite song in this movie, and it's beautiful and peaceful, and I can't find it. It's written by a separate composer in the credits, but I cannot find the song. Give it to me! I think as silly as this movie is, I do think that the music is able to put most of this movie together. Then there are the actors, and each actor brings something to the table, whether it be their performance or whatever quirks they have. Amber is great because she's the only one that has a real accent compared to everyone else, and some of her delivery is so passionate.
I don't believe this. Elves don't exist. They're mythical people in stories.
Well, they do exist more than people knew.
There's this particularly funny scene when she's trying to sneak away from the FBI.
I need to use the bathroom.
Go use it.
The dad is probably the most grounded character in this film. I think amongst all the silliness of this movie, I think he is the anchor, and I think he is absolutely necessary in here. Then there's, Agent Hardman or something? I love this guy. He knows how to be a bad guy, and he's hamming it up with his smug little evil deliveries.
I know his ways. He may be cunning, but we're the better race in the end.
Lythorian. Whenever he speaks lines that should be serious, it just sounds so funny with his fake accent. I love it.
Staying alive.
Are you wanted by the law?
You and your people's law. Because of your laws that killed my people.
Hi, editing Maven here. I just noticed that he's reading off of his hand. Suspension of disbelief ruined. And of course, there's Lylarian as well. She sounds like she's trying really hard to remember what to say, and I feel so bad for her because she's given so many, poetic lines.
Is this a dream?
It's something of a dream, but something of not. I am happy right now, but you mean you want me to be blissful?
Then there's the costumes. I love these costumes. I love how creative everyone got. Like, for instance, the FBI from the 1960s compared to the current day ones. Alright, everyone get your church clothes on and put on a fedora. Great. We have the FBI from the 1960s. Now, everyone has a t-shirt that says FBI. Perfect. And also the elf costumes, they got so crafty. They took whatever fabric they could do to make the capes. I love the camo ones. They also went through the effort of adding contact lenses as well. This movie in general is just super charming to me in all of its imperfections. I love imperfect things. This movie hits all the right notes for me, which keeps getting me to rewatch it. And it all came together as this little fairy tale of a movie. Alright, now let's talk about the sequels. So, no actual full-length movies were ever made. However, pitch trailer concepts were filmed and edited together as little condensed versions of what these movies could be. But when seeing this, it's like, oh my goodness, Stephen Groo had all kinds of ideas of what to do with Lithorian and the crew. So in the first sequel, we have Lithorian rescuing Lylirian from a government facility. It's action-packed. Lithorian has adapted into modern combat-ready clothes. Personally, something I find super interesting, which makes it such a shame that this movie was never made, was this character.
Hello, Father.
Stop this! You're our race, not theirs.
They are my people.
So this is Lithorian's son, and he has like only 2 lines, but I love his delivery. You can tell there's like stuff going on in his head. I love the idea that there's an elf that believes he's integrated with humans. It's such a cool idea. And the idea that he is so adamant on killing his own father, it gets the gears in my head turning about what could have been. Like, in my head, Lithorian's son is like this angsty, edgy character that's being torn apart by his elf nature and his human upbringing. He'd be like this Shadow the Hedgehog of the cast of characters. Oh, imagine like if his name was like a human name given to him by Agent Hardman. Like, what if he named him after his brother that got killed by Lithorian? That would be like this cool, sick and twisted revenge. And speaking of Agent Hardman's dead brother, in the Unexpected Race 3 trailer, it turns out his brother didn't die and was given like elf lifespan, like Amber's dad, but like how did that work? What elf would willingly do that to a human that's trying to kill them off? I don't know. The timeline is like a little weird because there's this bit where the FBI is telling the dad that Amber's life is in danger, but like, isn't she dead already? When does this take place? Anyway, Hardman's brother, also known as Hardman, because nobody in these movies have names, imprisons Agent Forrest for letting Lithorian and Lylirian escape. And now Agent Forrest is an ally and promises Lithorian and Lylirian that he'll clear them away from the records and they'll be free from the government. And then he goes to a government computer, which is a library, which I love so much. I can't get over it, and he becomes Hacker Man.
I graduated with honors in computer programming and included a course with viruses.
They're on to us.
Yes, the public librarians are trying to get you to be quiet. But I do love the idea of this squad of characters teaming up. But I do have to say, it's an absolute tragedy that a full-length version of these movies were never made. But I'm honestly very grateful that these trailers are here at all, because these are proof that these ideas existed. Now that all that is out of the way, we need to talk about the remake. But it's not just the remake by itself. No, this remake is accompanied by a documentary about the behind the scenes. So it's difficult to talk about the remake on its own without mentioning the documentary, which is a whole different can of worms. To briefly summarize, Stephen Groo was given an opportunity to make any movie he wanted, and he chose to remake The Unexpected Race. In the documentary, we get some insight on Stephen Groo, how his mind works and his filmmaking style and career, and we see some trouble happen on set with the crew and in his personal life during filming. And that's all I'm going to say because this is an absolutely fascinating watch. Hi, editing Maven here again. So a few weeks after I made this segment, I discovered a podcast interview with Stephen Groo, and I'll put the link to it below. And basically in this interview, he talks about his grievances with the filming of the documentary and how he's not exactly pleased with it. And I kind of wanted to put this part here so you can kind of just see all sides of the documentary, and I kind of want to be as fair as possible here. Also in this interview, there's a lot of new things that I learned, like how The Unexpected Race came out of a canceled project called War in Heaven. So now I have even more questions, like how did he come up with this idea so fast? Did he have this idea for a while? What inspired him? I have so many questions. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. As for the remake itself, well, it's almost a scene-by-scene remake with almost the exact same dialogue. There are some changes. First of all, the cast is different, and the only ones that I can think that have kept their roles are this FBI grunt that Lythorian has a 1v1 with, and Agent Hardman has returned. Lythorian is played by a new actor, but Groo is playing his unnamed friend from the first movie, who now has a name called Xanthar. Xanthar has his own scenes, like there's a scene where he professes his love to a significantly younger actress that looks like she's being held hostage, and I think he knows it because when they fall in love, they just hug. Also, speaking of her, this scene was a little funny. Xanthar! We also have the same post-credit scene of Lythorian realizing that Lylirian is alive. However, there's kind of a problem with that.
You!
No! Now, I don't know my elf anatomy, but I'm pretty sure she got shot point blank in the chest. There are some improvements, and some things get cleared up, like why would someone go to the sheriff over a guy with pointy ears?
We just saw some freak up at the cabin up the canyon.
He has pointy ears.
Pointy ears. Give me a break. What are you guys on something?
Oh yeah, Jack Black is in this. I do love the police sketch of Lythorian here. Overall, there are improvements on the technical side of things. We got drone shots, we have better audio, the camera work is a lot better. Some characters have more depth. Amber has a stronger presence here, Agent Hardman has a lot more going on, and Lythorian's improved as well. I do think that the locations of where the elves were filmed is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Even though the remake has lots of improvements, for some reason I just keep leaning back to the original. I think maybe it's because everyone in this movie was a bit more campy and theatrical. Meanwhile, there are characters that don't have that presence here, like the dad or Agent Forrest. These aren't bad performances. I just think that they mess with the chemistry between the actors, and I like the camp, okay? Like, for example, Agent Hardman and Agent Forrest's interactions are almost line for line, and in the first one, Agent Forrest is more intense, while in the remake, he's playing a bit more realistically compared to the same actor, Agent Hardman.
I feel honored to follow in your footsteps, sir.
I feel honored to follow in your footsteps, sir.
But I wonder, what's the real reason we're doing this? What does the agency want with this race, especially in the 60s?
But I wonder what the real reason we were doing this. I mean, what does the agency want with this race, especially in the 70s?
Is there another agenda I don't know about? Sir.
Both of these movies have their strengths and weaknesses, but I lean towards the first one. Now let's talk about Stephen Groo's work. Stephen Groo, also known as Utah Wolf Productions, has been making movies for years. As far as I know, he's been making movies since the late 90s. I haven't had an opportunity to see all of his work. He's made movies, pitched trailers, music videos, fan films. Creativity is this guy's bread and butter. He's always making something. Stephen Groo does have a cult following. I've seen him compared to Tommy Wiseau and Neil Breen, but honestly, I really have to disagree with that. If I could compare Stephen Groo to someone, I would compare him to Isaac Nabwana of Wakaliwood fame. He's a filmmaker who makes movies in the slums of the capital of Uganda. He has a community of people that want to join in on the fun, and he makes movies out of practically nothing. And he's very competent in many aspects. For me, I felt burnt out from Hollywood movies, and seeing someone like Groo is honestly a breath of fresh air. Nowadays, movies are just remakes, reboots, and a big Hollywood spectacle, but Groo's films kind of show the reason why we want to make movies in the first place. What's wonderful about Groo's work is his persistence. He's not waiting for the stars to align to make these movies. If he wants to make something, he'll make it, and that's incredibly admirable. Stephen Groo is aware of the criticism he gets online for his work, and I do think he does feel sour about it. He sometimes has the need to defend himself and his work, and I do think he is frustrated that people don't always see his vision in his movies. There is a chance that he will see this video, and I'm very worried about that because I'm a big fan. I don't think he'll like this. Like, for the past month or even more, I have been enveloped into the Grooniverse and watching everything and doing so much research. And I wouldn't do this if I didn't like your stuff, Groo. Like, my poor husband has had to listen to me talk about the unexpected race for weeks, okay? He has had to listen to me talk about all kinds of theories and questions that I have about the unexpected race. Like, okay, here's a theory that I actually came up with yesterday. So, if Lylarian can survive a gunshot to the chest, then that means that their son can survive a stab wound to the chest. Which means we can have a movie about him. Give me the movie! If any of you are curious about his work, here's some stuff that I want to shout out for you to check out. First of all, there's Time to Duel. Time to Duel is great. If you ever watched Yu-Gi-Oh! As a show, they got like the costumes perfect, and some people try to imitate the voices of the characters, like Joey's Brooklyn accent and like Rex in Weevil. But honestly, Kaiba is absolutely perfect in this movie. If you want more elves, I recommend The Circle of Fire. Groo is playing a blonde elf this time, and this movie is incredibly ambitious with many actors and costumes and more action. Another thing I recommend on his YouTube channel is Chiquito. I absolutely adore Chiquito. It's basically like a Final Fantasy inspired short. We got the Cloud and Aerith scene. We got not Sephiroth. Please watch this one. It's amazing. You can check out these movies on Tubi, Amazon Prime. You can watch them on Vimeo as well. You can rent or buy. On Vimeo, if you purchase it, you can see like behind the scenes and outtakes, which is honestly incredibly fascinating to see. The biggest takeaway that we can learn from all this is to honestly just do what you want. Even if it isn't conventional or standard, make what you want to make and don't worry about what anyone thinks. Your creations are your mark on this world and proof that you exist. I've wanted to make this video for a few years, but I've held back because I was worried that I didn't know enough about editing and I didn't know if enough people would see this. But honestly, I'm making this because I want to, and at least I know that the people that I love and care about will see this. Hi, Dad! Now this video has been a lot longer than I had anticipated. Anyway, if you are interested in the Grooniverse like me, I'll put the link to his YouTube channel in the description. Anyway, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Take care!